Hello.
Hey Karen, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Happy, what, Thursday?
I think so. It's so hard to keep track, isn't it?
I know.
Yeah.
All right.
We're constantly confused about what day it is around here.
I know. I feel like this week went by slow and then it went by super fast.
Yeah, that seems to be how these weeks go.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
Stephanie. People are joining in, some artists. Hey, Wes. Hey, Damie. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
Wesley.
Hello.
Awesome. And I'm recording as well.
Great. Tiffany, I figured I would present. Do you want me to pull it up?
Oh, yeah. Cool. People are coming in. Hold on. Let me just continue to admit people. And then let me make you the host. Are you and Greg going to be presenting or just you?
Me, or all of us, really.
Okay, so I'm going to make
I'll present the screen, but all of us will be.
Awesome. All right, make co-host. Okay. Make co-host. And then Karen, do you need to be co-host too?
No, it's fine because I'm speaking, but if Deanie doesn't mind running the slides, that's all good.
Yeah.
Okay, what about Wes?
I'll present for everyone. Sorry. That was incorrect answer to your question before. I'm
All right, we'll probably get started in a couple of minutes. People are on time. Whoop, whoop. I've been late to Zoom meetings all week, so I'm impressed with people showing up on time. It's really, really great.
been a busy
Welcome, everyone.
Hello, hello.
Yes.
Hey, Tiffany.
Hey.
It's Thursday. It's almost Friday.
I know. I'm so excited. Awesome. Well, I'll continue to admit people in as we go because I know our time is valuable and we only have an hour for the workshop. But just to introduce myself, a lot of you artists know who I am. Tiffany Latrice, who works for National Black Arts, is the artistic director and just responsible for overseeing the strategic vision for the organization. And so something that we wanted to do this year as our theme is Rising Above. And so we wanted to select and invite artists who we believe that are doing incredible work and invite them into partnership opportunities that we've been afforded. And so when Pond5 came to us looking for and to support Black artists in the film and photography industry, I was like, well, we have that community. It's really rich and vibrant. And I'm so excited about that partnership. So this opportunity is really just to learn about Pond5, learn about the team and the brilliance behind the work that they do, how to get you guys out there, share your work to diverse audiences, potentially license your content, make some residual income, then have fun along the way and promote your work. So I've been working with Deanie, Greg, Wes, Karen. I guess we've been talking since November, I guess, of last year, or it's been a while. And so we approached this as like, we really wanted to have an intimate workshop with you all to introduce you to their brand and to the team. To make sure it's a platform that we think that you guys can leverage for your portfolio and in the future. So I'm going to turn it over to the incredible Pond5 team and let them take it away. I'm going to go off camera, but I think it's going to be a great afternoon. And if you guys enjoy it, you can more than welcome to talk to me afterwards. We'll record the session. So for those who weren't able to attend, we'll be sharing it with your peers as well. So if you have any questions, I'll also be managing the chat. So I can be feeding it to the Pond5 team as well. All right.
Awesome.
Take it away.
Thanks so much, Tiffany. That was such a good intro. Let me just pull up my screen. So I hate when you go on Zoom and it like rejiggers everything after you present, but here I go. So yeah, welcome everybody. We're really excited to have you here. We've been speaking with Tiffany since November, as she said, but previously we had partnered on a fundraiser during Juneteenth. So we were excited to support the organization then. And we're really excited to host this workshop today. Tiffany has had really amazing things to say about you all. We've seen some of your work and it looks incredible. And we're just so excited about the prospect of you potentially bringing some of your content to Pond5. We'll introduce ourselves along the way. I'm Deanie. I'm head of customer lifecycle, which is our marketing function. And the rest of the team will come on board afterwards. So let's get into it.
Okay, let's do it. You ready? Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Karen. I am Pond5's Chief People Officer. So that is to say that I focus day in and day out on the people at Pond5. So everything from recruiting to learning and development, people operations. And I've been with Pond5 for over 5 years. So I've really been able to see the organization grow and evolve, which has been a remarkable experience. And one of the things that I've seen anchor us over time has been this vision of creating world-class storytellers and this mission of being the world's most accessible marketplace. And for us, these really are more than just words. So I wanted to use this opportunity to just share a little bit about Pond5 before we jump into the workshop. So we are really proud of our 25 million video clips. It's the world's largest video catalog, uploaded by artists from all over the world, and that we're the go-to destination for filmmakers, for media organizations, for marketers worldwide. And I think that we have achieved this level of trust and loyalty by really providing what we like to call a delightful experience. That is for both contributing artists like all of you, because we know how difficult it is to earn a living as an artist, and also for our buyers. So that means having a collection that has breadth and depth and the right pricing, everything we need to meet a wide spectrum of content needs. And it also means maintaining a human connection with our buyers and our sellers. So that includes Greg, who you'll meet, and his artist relations team, customer service, sales, all available to help. So Greg's going to talk more about this, but before he does, I think I will turn things back to Deanie, who's going to share a little bit more about why we're so excited to be here with you and about our partnership in general.
Thanks, Karen. So that was a really good overview. And just to add to it, as part of our mission, we believe in a diverse, robust marketplace. So with that in mind, and with our storyteller first mission in mind, we reached out to NBAF looking to partner with artists who could bring authentic Black culture to life through film and photography. So we're really excited to partner with you all to bring your incredible work to the marketplace, but also to help support what you do as artists, going back to what Tiffany was saying. So yeah, that's us at Pond5. Let me pass it over to Greg, who's going to give you an overview of the details that go into contributing to Pond5.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Greg. I'm the head of content at Pond5. Thank you all for being here today. I'm going to try to explain to you in a short period of time what Pond5 is, what contributing to Pond5 is all about, and stuff like that. So some of you may be familiar with the concept of what licensing is, or content licensing, or stock media, or things like that. Some of you may not be. So I'm just going to take it very slowly and, from the beginning and explain, all about those dynamics, because I think, I've been at Pond5 for several years. And I think for those of us who are in the industry, I think we sometimes forget how sort of esoteric a topic this can be for those who don't, think about this every single day. But I want to start by kind of reiterating some of the stuff that Karen said at the top. So Pond5, our mission is to support storytellers. And, there are so many different ways that we tell stories these days, visually, textually, through music. But usually I'd say the things that affect us the most, that are the most powerful, are telling us a story in some kind of way. And, that's what is always been so great to me about working at this company is, empowering storytellers. We exist to support and empower storytellers on both sides of our marketplace. So what does that mean? Pond5 is a marketplace platform. If you've been to Pond5, you probably know what I'm talking about. We're an e-commerce platform where people can visit our website and transact and license media. So when we say two-sided, we're dealing with buyers of content on one hand and the sellers of content on the other hand, like any marketplace. The value we try to provide to our buyers is the ability to license the world-class content in the Pond5 library for use in their projects. You heard some of the numbers before, 25, pushing 26 million video clips, 40 million photos, almost 2 million royalty-free music tracks, etc. While we do offer all of those different media asset types, our primary focus is on video. It's always been our biggest focus and our biggest revenue driver. And so we're kind of known as the video marketplace in the space. But that doesn't mean that we don't, that we shy away from accepting other media types either. Production music is our number 2 media type, which, as you can imagine, marries very well with video. You're using video, you're using music to tell your story together. So that's the value we try to provide to our buyers. For our sellers, Pond5 was founded with a very simple mission. And that mission was called artist friendly. When we were founded, we were real disruptors in this space because we came in and we offered a really compelling deal to artists. We offered them the highest royalty split in the industry. We offered them the ability to set their own price for their work. We didn't want to tell them your work is worth this. We wanted to listen to you, the artist, who says, this piece of content is, I think it's worth this. And if maybe you'd sell it at that much, and maybe if you didn't, you'd adjust your price and you'd sell it at a different price. But it was all about empowering the creators. And we were non-exclusive. We allowed you to upload to different places and things like that. So we came in as a disruptor in this space. And so much of that, even as the industry has changed over the years, remains integral to our DNA. We still pay the highest at the top of the royalty spectrum. We still allow our artists to set their own prices and things like that. So that's baked into our DNA. Getting back to sort of like buyers, because I know you guys will probably find this really interesting. Who licenses content on Pond5? I want to start by saying, stock content or stock footage or stock imagery has really, the definition of what that is and the connotations around it has really changed a lot recently. 10 years ago, it was seen as something that was kind of cheesy, maybe, or go back even before that, you've got things like clip art and stuff like that, the stuff that you could use in your thing that you didn't create yourself. And that sort of cheesy idea of smiling people eating salads on a white background, or the other concepts you might have of stock photography or footage is really kind of a figment of the past, because you have so much quality now coming into marketplaces like Pond5. You really have, some of the best footage, that exists out there, really. And, let me see if I have this here. I think, Deanie, are you presenting? If you could click on can you click on where it says who licenses Pond5 content? It should be a link. I want to show you guys something really fast. This is a link to our, a section that we put out, and this gets to the question of who licenses content on Pond5. This is called this is a segment we do on a monthly basis that we email out to our contributor base. It's called Content in the Wild. And these are just I wanted to start off with some really inspiring examples of the kind of people who license content off our platform. So if you click into any one of these, for example, maybe, I don't know, maybe the December one or something, every time we put one of these out, we give 3 different examples of a big buyer that licensed content off Pond5 that month. So this, here's an example here is the Billboard Music Awards, licensed content off us. We have, we do a little video there, and we have Pond5 commentary from the sales rep who made the deal. There we go. This one was from Brittany. The Social Dilemma is a show, documentary that you can watch on Netflix, licensed a lot of footage into that. And the purpose of this series is just really to show a mix of the different types of buyers in our marketplace. And that when we have the Biden campaign that leveraged us heavily into their campaign ads. So, we try to offer a sampling when we put these out, usually like a TV show, maybe a feature film, maybe a music video that's pretty high profile, and maybe something like an ad campaign or something like that. So these are just some examples. So we'll provide you guys, of course, with all of these resources for you to check out on your own. But I wanted to give you that sort of high level kind of teaser of this. Sorry, Deanie, if we could just go back for 1 second. So I want to go through just some of these examples, because I think this is broken up into good categories of people who license content off Pond5. Our biggest buyer base, and I think this is relevant for you guys, because if you're contributing to Pond5, you can think about these are the kinds of people who could potentially license my work, right? TV production is our single biggest buyer demographic. That's both scripted and documentary, but usually more into like the documentary side. Feature films as well. License stuff off Pond5. They need that shot, that establisher, whatever it is that they didn't get in their shooting, they license that off Pond5. If you're watching, TV shows, documentaries, if you're watching films, stick around till the end of the credits. You will see the Pond5 name show up on a lot of them. But also, advertising agencies for ad campaigns, for sure, are buyers. Usually at the higher end of our pricing spectrum, we're buying like an extended license or something. That's something we'll talk about a little bit later on in the deck. Corporations for things like internal corporate videos, keynotes, external videos, trainings, things like that. Digital marketers that are, this has been a real growing, demographic here, doing social media advertising and things like that. And we have this really long tail of freelancers and YouTubers who may, spend less than a very large buyer who's an ad agency or doing a TV show, but all put together, they make up a large percentage of the licensing revenue that we do. So that's people who are, wedding videographers, or they're YouTubers, they have a channel or something like that. So this long tail of freelancers. We can go on now. So that's who's licensing, who's contributing, who are our artists. You've got a real mix in our artist base of different kinds of people with different motivations who get different things out of contributing to Pond5. There are production companies actually who make up a big percentage of our contributor base. And when I say production companies, I mean people who are doing, companies that are doing TV shows, that are doing films, that are doing commercials, whatever it is they're doing. They monetize B-roll, extra footage, through licensing agencies like Pond5. They might even have someone on staff whose job it is to, take the B-roll, chop it up, and distribute it out to licensing agencies to make extra revenue. Some production companies that I've been dealing with on the contributor side have actually built stock monetization so deeply into their workflows that even when they go on location to shoot, they stay an extra couple days just to get stock. And then they send that out to their network. So that's one group, is production companies. We also have, just like on the buyer side, that long tail of kind of individuals or freelancers who, maybe you're somebody who is a hobbyist and you bought a cool camera and you shot, footage of your dog or your kids or something in your backyard. Maybe you bought a drone and you're flying a drone, in your neighborhood, or maybe you take it out into an exotic location and you're uploading drone footage. But we do have a long tail of hobbyists. Our biggest contributors traditionally is this third bullet here. They're actual production houses that are specifically designed to create stock footage. So not like the production companies at the top that are shooting for making a show and then they have B-roll that they're monetizing. These companies exist as stock footage creation factories. And so they do, multiple shoots over the course of the year with talent. They go to locations, they might do drone stuff, they might do helicopter stuff in places like that. And these guys have portfolios that range, from tens of thousands up to hundreds of thousands of footage clips. And that's their primary business. And then as a last bullet, more and more coming into this space have been other large media organizations. So I'll give you one example. Pond5 a couple of years ago did a partnership with Reuters news agency. So Reuters now distributes, 1 million footage assets on Pond5. So more and more, people are seeing value in this sort of a monetization model. We can move on. Cool. So licensing. What is licensing? What does that mean? Again, kind of a tricky topic, even for those of us who live and breathe it every single day, because there's always wrinkles. So I'll start off by saying this. At Pond5, we don't sell footage. We don't sell music. We don't sell photos. We don't sell any of those things. What we sell are licenses. We sell rights to use media assets in different ways. So that right off the top, is something that like, there are probably people at Pond5 who might be, maybe they don't work in sales or something who don't even, grasp that, but it's kind of like the principal thing, right? We sell a license. This concept of copyright, I think, is very important because creators who come into a space like this, need to understand that when you license your work on a platform like Pond5, you're not giving away or selling your copyright. If you shot a piece of footage, you're the owner of that piece of footage. You own the copyright. The fact that you're licensing it through our platform doesn't change the fact that you're the copyright holder. You still maintain your copyright. So that's, a very important thing to get, to explain to new contributors right at the beginning. In fact, Pond5, we only allow content on the site from people who rep and warrant that it is their content. And that's all accomplished through our agreements. When you sign up as a Pond5 artist, you agree to our CA, our contributor agreement, which says you are the holder of the copyright. You are the person who shot this footage, or you've purchased it and own the copyright one way or the other. So that's kind of step one. The next bullet here says RFRM. So what I want to talk about here is, I talked about what a license is. It's rights to use a piece of media in a context. That can mean different things though. So traditionally, most licensing agencies operated under a rights managed model. So what that meant is it was highly controlled. The distribution, the geography that it could be used in, the period of time that it could be used over. So I'll give you an example. Let's say, it's the 1970s or something, and a photographer licenses a photograph for use on the cover of Time magazine. It was licensed, for a very specific use case, the January cover of Time magazine. It was licensed, within a geography in the US. It was licensed for a period of time, exclusive rights to this image for X number of months or years. And then it was licensed at a very high price point, usually several thousands of dollars. That's called rights managed licensing. That still exists today in some forms. And you can do that on some websites where you put in, I want to license this image. I want to license it for 2 years. I want to license it for an ad campaign in China. And you'll get quoted a price. Royalty-free, or RF, on the other side of that equation, is a very different proposition. And this is what we engage in mostly at Pond5. So royalty-free came around, about 20 years ago. And the concept there is that you, as a buyer of a license, you pay one time for the rights, and then you own those rights in perpetuity. You don't have to pay again for another use case. You're not limited by geography. And this sort of democratized or more liberal license went hand in hand with the democratization of content creation, right? The boom in content creation over the last 20 years, where we went from, you had to be a highly specialized and connected person at one point to own a very nice camera and shoot really good video or photography, and you had to be connected to distribute that. That has changed. Obviously, that equation has flipped completely on its head, where anyone with an iPhone can now shoot in 4K, right? And can go to places like Pond5 or our competitors and can upload stuff and sell it, and have their stuff appear on the news or on a magazine cover or anywhere. So again, royalty-free, which is the kind of licensing that we do at Pond5, is a one-time payment for a royalty-free license that is multi-use in perpetuity across all geographies. That's become really the norm in the licensing space today. If you have questions, we'll save them for the end, or we can obviously have like a dialogue going, through Tiffany as we move forward, because I know that these are big concepts. The third bullet I have here is editorial versus commercial. Certain content can be licensed for commercial uses, and certain content cannot be. What do I mean by commercial use? I mean anything that is for profit. So any sort of advertising campaign, anything that's used to sell a product, even something like a for-profit film, all of that stuff requires a commercial clearance to use a piece of content in that way. What editorial means, on the other hand, is content that's being licensed for a educational or descriptive purpose that is not for profit. So it could be a documentary or a news program. It could be used by a nonprofit organization. It's content that is identifying and illuminating and commenting on a point in time, a piece of editorial content. It's not being used to sell something. So if you go on a site like Pond5, you'll see that you run a search. We have filters at the top that let you choose what you're looking for. Are you producing a commercial? If you're producing a commercial for Coca-Cola, you need to only be looking at the commercially viable content on our site. The stuff that you license should be commercially usable. You'll see that things that aren't commercially viable on our site have a disclaimer next to them that says, this piece of content is suitable for editorial use cases only. Now, the next bullet ties into this very closely. What makes a piece of content suitable for commercial use? It's a release. So if I take a photo of my wife and I upload it to Pond5, I'm going to need to include in my upload as an attachment a release file signed by my wife, usually with her photo on it, that says that I'm okay with my likeness appearing in this image. There are different kinds of releases. There are model releases. There are property releases. For example, if you're doing a shoot in a private residence, if you're doing a shoot with an automobile that is, privately owned, you might need a release for that car. It's called a property release, or for that piece of property at a swimming pool or whatever, in a hospital, if you're doing a shoot there. And these are all things that, every piece of content that comes into Pond5 is moderated or is curated and looked at for these very reasons. We have a team that looks at every piece of content that comes in and that reviews those releases to make sure that the proper releases are there in order to be able to mark something as suitable for commercial use. Typically, like, stuff that's suitable for commercial use is kind of better from an artist's perspective. I know that's like oversimplified, but what I mean is, like, if you can get releases, it's always better because it increases the number of possible use cases for your content. If you don't have a release and your content is still accepted, we'll talk in a second, sometimes content can't be accepted at all if there's no release. But if it's marked editorial, it just limits the number of use cases for that. It then has to be used in a news context or a nonprofit context, right? So if you have releases, increased number of use cases. Let's talk about that a little bit more though. So what do I mean by, like, certain content, even if there is not a release, can still be used? So if I walk down the street, for example, and I film a crowd, and I upload that shoot, that shot to Pond5, or I film, something, let's say there's a rally or a protest going on in my neighborhood, I can upload that piece of content to Pond5 and I'm not going to get a release from, the hundreds of people that are in that crowd. But that clip will be approved because it provides editorial value, because it's depicting a moment in time, it's depicting an event, right? Usually we'll want that metadata on that shot, the description of it, to explain that, to not just say, like, this is a crowd. It should say something like, this is, what's today? February 25th, 2021 in Brooklyn, New York, where I'm sitting and there's a protest on my street corner or something. That both helps the buyer find what they're looking for, if they're looking for that piece of content about that protest that happened today, and it lets our curators know that this is a piece of newsworthy content. If you just upload let's use that example again of my wife. If I upload a picture of her, that's just her looking at the camera, and I try to get that through curation, and they reject it, and I say, no, editorial use, that doesn't fly, because that is not a newsworthy event. That person in question is the only person in the shot. They're interacting with the camera, they're looking at the camera, they're clearly posing, they're modeling, etc. That absolutely requires a release to be attached to it. We can't even accept that for editorial use. A lot of stuff about releases. I'm gonna go through these photos in a second, but I'll just finish my bullet points first. License types. There are different kinds of licenses that we grant on Pond5, and they're available for different price points. Everything on our site is under the aforementioned royalty-free license. So we're never going to do a rights managed license. It's always going to be royalty-free, but we have 3 tiers of license upgrades that you can add on to your license. The most basic level is what we call an individual license. What that includes is our full royalty-free Pond5 license. So again, multi-use in perpetuity across all geographies use for the item. But what it means is called individual because it actually only allows one individual person to work with that file. So if you're a freelancer and you're doing a YouTube video or whatever, or even if you're a marketer and you're only one person, you can buy an individual license. If you're a business and you have maybe 3 editors or 10 editors who are going to be working with that same file, you have to upgrade to what's called a business license because we grant you more seats, more basically, workstations or editors who can work with a file. So that's for an additional charge, and you get more seats with that license. And you also get a level of something that's called indemnification, which is basically insurance on the item, where Pond5 is saying, we stand behind the copyright on this item up to X number of dollars. Usually, like, the two go hand in hand. As you go up the chain and you're a bigger company that's licensing, you probably need more seats. You probably have a larger audience and you probably have a bigger budget. So you're more inclined to take out our indemnification or our insurance on the item. At the very top of the scale, we have our premium license, which is has even more seats added on it and a higher level of indemnification up to $1 million. So if you're working on a Hollywood film, or we did a deal a little while ago with Madonna on a music video, these people are purchasing the premium license. They can afford it, they want that extra protection, and they have a lot of editors who are working with the file. So those are license types. Actually, Deanie is the expert on license types. She runs that part of our business for us. I'm only an amateur, so I'll stop there on that one. But the last one, which is kind of interesting, is sensitive use. So just because something, and this might be something that you're thinking about as a new contributor, I know that I get these questions a lot. Just because you upload something to our platform doesn't mean that someone can download it using any possible context they want. We do have rules in our CLA, which is our content license agreement for buyers, around how they can use an item. You're not allowed, on a very basic level, you're not allowed to use content that has people in it in ways that depicts them in defamatory ways. So, pornographic usage or depicting drug usage, or there's a whole list. If you're interested, you could read our legal guidelines, but it's just to assure you that, the buyers don't have carte blanche. In some cases, like, we negotiate an upcharge for that kind of thing. But in most cases, sensitive use is not allowed by our license agreement. So before we move on, I know it was a lot of info. I want to just take a look at these individual photos that I have here in this example. And maybe, I don't know how many of you are able to use the chat. Maybe we can just do a quick survey as I go from one by the other. And you guys, I'd like you to let me know if you think the image that I ask requires a release to be attached to it, to simply be accepted by Pond5 based on what we've just discussed. So why don't we start with the one, an easy one, the one right up at the top with the kid looking right into the camera. Use the chat. Let me know, do you think Pond5 would accept this without a release, or does this require a release? Release, I see one response. Maybe you guys can't find the chat, it's down at the bottom. If you hit the chat button, it'll pop up. But this one is pretty easy. This one, absolutely right, William, requires a release. Release all caps, yes. This kid is looking right at the camera. They're clearly the sole focus of this shot. This shot could not be accepted as editorial use. It clearly needs a signed model release. In fact, this one needs what we'd call a minor release, which is even more particular. It needs to have a signature from a parent or guardian. It needs to have a witness present, all of this other stuff that you need in order to license this image of a child. Let's go down now to the one next to that one on the left, the penguins. Does anyone think that you need a release to upload an image of penguins? Yeah. I want to say penguins don't have rights, but of course they do. The penguins have rights, but no, you don't need a release, obviously, to upload a picture of a penguin. We'll accept this one just fine. This can be licensed for commercial use, no issues. It's going to get a little bit more tricky now. Let's go to diagonally down to the right and talk about the one that has the soldiers in front of the graffiti. Do you guys think that if you upload this to Pond5, we would require you to attach a release to this for everyone in this photo? Getting some no's coming in. The no's are correct. So this is a perfect example of editorial image. Not only are you not going to obtain a release from all, I don't know if they're, I think this is somewhere in Eastern Europe or something. You're not going to obtain a release from every one of these riot police. And this is also documenting a historical moment. This is news content. This is newsworthy. So this is totally acceptable as editorial. Is this okay as commercial content? No, it's editorial content. Generally speaking, we do have an upgrade to commercial process that involves extensive clearance work. That's sort of outside the realm of this. Okay, here's another tricky one. The view, the cityscape down to the left of that, I believe is Florence, Italy. Do you guys think that you would need a release for this photo? All right, we have one brave soul. Okay, 2, no. So this one is sort of tricky. And the answer is actually, it depends. So technically the answer for this one is actually yes. And I'll explain why. Remember I said before about if you're shooting in like a private residence or a hospital or something, you need a property release. I put this in here specifically to trick you. Some architectural structures like the Duomo here in Florence are actually copyrighted. So this requires a release because of that. Now, how are you going to know which buildings are copyrighted and which aren't? You're not really, but the curatorial agencies at Pond5, at other agencies like Pond5, they have their own lists of rules and famous landmarks and things, and they know which ones are copyright protected. And so if this were submitted, it would be accepted, but it would be marked as editorial only because we don't have a property release attached by the copyright holder for that piece of architecture. Now, it gets even more complicated than that, actually, because even though this building, this Duomo, is copyrighted, and because in this particular case, you would need a release for it, it's because it is the central focus of this shot. There are other examples where this building or another copyrighted building might be in the shot, so you'd think you might need a release, but because of where it's positioned along the skyline, or the fact that there's 20 other buildings that are also in the shot, would mean that it is acceptable for commercial use. So it's really tricky, and it really is kind of a fine line. And to be honest, like, there is no real rule on it, and every agency, depending on their tolerance for sort of risk and things like that and their predilection, is going to have a slightly different take on these sorts of things. I'll give one more example about an interesting thing involving architecture. The Eiffel Tower is totally fine to photograph and to shoot video of and to sell commercially, but the Eiffel Tower at night is not, because there is a light show that happens on the Eiffel Tower when it's dark. That itself is copyrighted. So if you have a shot of the Eiffel Tower during the daytime, it's okay for commercial use. If it's at nighttime with the lights on, you would require a release to use that one for commercial. So pretty tricky stuff. And finally, the very last one, the guy holding the cup of coffee on the top. What do you guys think? Do you think you'd need a release to upload this shot? We got one no. Anyone else have a guess? This one is another tricky one. So, okay, someone mentioned the tattoo. So yeah, so you might look at this and think there's no face, no release. And generally you'd be right, except for the tattoo. So the tattoo both serves as an identifying mark on the person, and actually that tattoo is a piece of art. and it may require a property release from the tattoo artist who designed the tattoo. So our curators would require a release for this one. In fact, if they're shooting in a coffee shop too, you might also need a release for the coffee shop. Although in this particular shot, this could be anywhere. It's not, telling where it is. There might, be 100 photos in this shoot that do show, the coffee shop, the interior, the exterior, and then you'd need the property release. But the tattoo one was tricky. Congrats for getting that answer right. And yeah, so you can see it's sort of complicated. Okay, let's move on from this slide. Thank you guys for playing the game. So here I just want to talk a little bit to you guys about what kind of content we're looking for. And we've been through this a lot with Tiffany, and so she's going to speak to you as well and guide you on like what stuff in your portfolio might be applicable to Pond5. But I want to go through it with you as well. So the short answer is like Pond5 is looking for all kinds of good content. We don't want bad content, we want good content, but we want content in all different sorts of categories. Some of those include conceptual / high-end. So this would be the kind of stuff you'd imagine in like an ad campaign or some kind of like moody film or something, the low key kind of stuff, maybe neon or stuff that's like, product shots or kind of like high concept, fashion or artistic shooting. Like this stuff is the kind of thing that's sort of applicable to an ad agency audience. People and lifestyle. This is a gigantic category that encompasses so much of our library and so much of the selling content on Pond5. We find that shots that have people in them tend to sell better than shots that don't. Again, that's a generalization. There's some beautiful landscapes and animal stuff that of course sells for a specific use case, but generally speaking, people content is highly in demand. So what does that mean? It means everything. It means families. It means sports and fitness. It means business, right? Corporate business to startup business, right? And all the concepts around that, right? Startup culture, working late, commuting, cooking, people using technology, Fitbits and wearable tech is becoming a big thing. People using smartphones, anything with people. And of course, when you get into people, that's when we always from our buyers hear authenticity and diversity. That's what they want to see again and again and again. And that's what we try to source and bring to our marketplace. Editorial content and skip one. Establishers. An establishing shot, you all know what that is filmmakers, anything that sort of sets the scene for what's to come. Kind of a traditional use case of stock, right? You want to set the scene for what you're about to do. So the scene is presumably taking place in Paris, let's say, again, just to stick with our theme, but you didn't fly to Paris to shoot it. You shot it in a living room, but you throw an establishing shot of the Eiffel Tower up at the top and suddenly you're in Paris, right? So, that we want that kind of content, but it's not just for, really recognizable locations like the Eiffel Tower or the Grand Canyon or whatever. It's also just for like kind of everywheresville. Like you'd be surprised what licenses on Pond5, street corner in Pittsburgh or, brownstone neighborhood in Brooklyn or, aerial drone footage of suburban neighborhood or something like that. So this nondescript stuff actually does have tons of use cases. And if you think about some of the stuff that's on cable, you think about some of those, documentary shows or, some of our biggest buyers produce those shows for, Discovery Channel or History or places like that. Like you'll start to pick up on how much of those productions are stock. There are entire shows that are created from stock footage. One example I use that's kind of fun is the Ancient Alien show. Prometheus Entertainment creates that show. They're one of our biggest buyers. And they just do, they have their experts, if you want to call them experts, doing narration. And then they have stock. And that's pretty much it. They have narration and they have stock. And that stock might be of a crowded intersection in Manhattan, or it might be of the pyramids at Giza, or it might be of a sunrise, or it might be of a family, or whatever it is. It's all stock. And this kind of gets to that idea of like the changing face of stock, where like, yes, traditionally I have my film shot and, oh man, I really need that shot of the Grand Canyon. I'm not going to fly out to the Grand Canyon and hire a whole crew to get that shot. I'm going to go on Pond5 and I'm going to license it for $100 or $50 or whatever it is. So that mission of kind of plugging holes in a production is always going to be part of what stock is for. But more and more companies are finding, especially post-COVID, that they can't go shoot, or it's cost inefficient to go shoot. They're going to leverage stock more, not just to fill holes, but to generate the entire concept of the show around stock. So we actually do deals now. We're kind of pioneering this model where we partner with production companies at the top of their production cycle to generate show concepts off our library, and then we provide all of the content for that show. So it's kind of interesting. Beyond establishers, I kind of mentioned this one already a lot, editorial and citizen journalism. I find this one particularly fascinating because I think it really leverages the Pond5 community in a special way. We have 50,000 video artists across 200 countries, and anywhere in the world on a given day, something is happening. So whether that's a protest or a fire or severe weather or whatever's happening, we want that stuff, and our buyers are licensing that stuff. There's one guy I can think of, his username on Pond5 is Extreme Storms. He's based out of Florida, and he's this crazy storm chaser. He straps a GoPro on his head, and he runs after hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff, and he puts himself right in the middle of them, and he gets this amazing footage, and then he sells it on Pond5 for like upwards of $300 a shot because he risked his life to get that content. So that's another kind of content, obviously, that that we're interested in. If you don't have to put a GoPro on and run into a hurricane. I'm not telling you to do that, please. But if there's something happening that you capture, or if you look in your backlog, of B-roll, and you have again, protest footage, activism footage, if you've captured anything interesting on tape, police activity, whatever it is, like we definitely are interested in that content, and our buyers are too. The last thing here I'll show really fast, Dini, is this is another clickable link. If you can just give it a quick click, is the Pond5 contributor portal. I'll just show you this very quickly because I want you guys to know that you can visit this site, on your own to read all of this stuff. But this is our contributor portal, which is like our resource hub for contributors. And this really gets to that question of like, what are we looking for? Oh my goodness, I realize how much time we have left. I will wrap very quickly. So there's everything here from shoot briefs on specific subjects to buyer requests that are actual requests coming in live from buyers asking for specific kind of stuff, to information on evergreen categories that we're always looking for, to data on what search terms are trending. It's all here for you guys to check out. All right, let's go back to the deck. I'll do my last slide very quickly. This is just kind of like a technical overview of the kind of technical requirements we're looking for. I know because of our specific arrangement, I think Pond5 is going to be doing a lot of the editing of the content, so probably not something you need to worry about too much. But just so you know, stock clips are short, right? People are not licensing full films on our site. They're licensing, 3 to 30-second shots. So they need to be cut up. You have file size requirements there. We try to accept as many codecs and formats and things as we can. There's 3 primary descriptive metadata fields on Pond5 of title, description, and keywords. And then these are our pricing recommendations because Pond5 is a set your own price marketplace. So HD footage, the median selling price in our marketplace currently is around $56, whereas for 4K footage, it's $99. So, okay, I'm gonna pause. I think that was my last slide, right, Jeannie? I think you've got the next one. Cool. So thank you for your time, and I'm happy to answer questions in the future.
Thank you, Greg. Yeah, we just have a little bit more, and then we'll pass it over to Tiffany. So like we said at the beginning, we're really excited about this partnership and hopeful that you'll be interested in contributing content. Tiffany will go over a little bit more about how that will work, but we're imagining everything will come into this single NBAF account. And with that account, we'll be able to market against it. So We're committed to doing social highlights, sending an email, doing collections. These are some of the collections that appear on our homepage and in all of our marketing assets to highlight your work. We also are super excited about doing blog posts. Hopefully you'll be hearing from me about interviews we want to do with you for those posts. And other features, because not only are we excited about having the content on the site, but we want to make the most of your experience here and get as many eyes on your content as possible. It is a really big marketplace, so any effort we can make to make your specific clips known to users is going to be really important. So that's a little bit of what we want to do. I'll pass it over to Wesley, who is going to be your primary support contact.
All right, thanks everybody. And so nice to meet everyone today. It's really a true honor to get in front of all of you and just talk a little bit about what we do and what we do well and how we can help take care of you in terms of your journey. So my name is Wesley Reddick. I am the Customer Experience Manager. I have close to 20 years as a customer service professional. Taking care of people is just what I enjoy doing most. And I'm so excited that we're getting to explore opportunities with new artists. So really just want to put a name with a face today. As you folks may need assistance or support in any capacity, that's what we're here for. My department is usually staffed anywhere from 16 to 20 hours a day, which is quite unique for our industry and our space, because as all of you start to learn more and get more familiar with this industry, you'll find that nobody even comes close to what we do at Pond5 in terms of supporting our user community. And I say user community because we have two different types of customers. Every day we work with buyers day in and day out, help them with their requests, sourcing media, licensing questions, navigating the site. But we also have the artist client, which is really our favorite. One thing that we're famous for across our organization, especially within my team, is this the right thing for the artist? Are we doing the artist-friendly approach? And how is the artist going to be set up for success based on what we're doing in terms of support, whether it be for the buyer or working directly with those artists? Just wanted to give all of you a couple channels in terms of how you can reach us. So support@pond5.com. That's going to be your primary means of getting a hold of us for general questions, website support. If you just need assistance with the contributor portal, you have questions about codec. I know, Greg, thank you so much for covering that. We talked a little bit about codecs and media formats. A lot of that can get a little tricky and it can get a little weedy. So that's why we're here. We're here to help guide you through that, help ensure that your clips are they qualify for what our uploader needs, and then help you through that journey, getting through your content through the marketplace, and then ultimately living in the marketplace so our buyers can find you. You can also reach our team about 16 hours a day through our toll-free 800 number. We've got the number here on the slide. I just want to note it is option 3. If you hit no option, you'll still get my department. But if you're in a hurry, option 3 will be your friend. And I've got a team of 8 folks that are highly skilled, incredibly kind, so polite, ready to help, and we get the job done. One thing that I always share with anyone who's interested at Pond5 or just needing to get to know a little bit about our brand, go Google us, go see what our Trustpilot page says. That's what our user community is saying about us. And we have people that rave, not just from the buyer side, but also the artist side. Typically when it comes to artist support, we're helping you guys get your account created. We're helping you get your formats in shape. We're giving you advice on keywords, titling, tagging, price points, navigating the website. Oftentimes we may have buyers that reach out with very specific questions. Guess what? We will broker that conversation. A customer comes with a unique request. They need to either get in touch with the artist or they have a specific question for the artist. We will take that personal approach. And that's just really something that we live here at Pond5. It's part of our values, giving that human touch, letting you and your team of experts and artists know that you've got a friend on the inside. You've got a whole team of associates that will just go to the ends of the earth to make sure that you're taken care of. So I know that we're getting close to the end of our time. Again, just wanted to put a name with a face today. We're so excited for this opportunity. Again, this is Wesley with Pond5 Support, and we look forward to seeing you guys come in our doors very soon. All right.
Is it my go, Deanie? Yay. So this was so awesome. And I know for all of you all attending, just take a moment to breathe. We made it through the end of this hour. And this experience is really about how do we support you. So while we threw a lot at you for the first, hour, this is going to be a slow and intentional process. So the next step is just making sure, one, you feel comfortable with what you were given today. And then two, NBAF will provide a artist checklist just to kind of reiterate what Greg went over today, how to submit the content. What is great is that you don't have to do this journey alone. I am here to help and support you along this way. That's why we kept the artist list small. There's about 10 of you total that have agreed to participate, even though we're willing to have everyone here. So I will be following up and sending you guys a checklist, and then essentially going over with what type of content or media that you want to submit. And essentially, we will help you get that up and going. So the kind of general timeline is that you'll get an artist checklist, the submission form to share your media. Pond5 has graciously sponsored to clip at least up to 1,000 of our media assets collectively. So we are gonna actually help you guys tag and upload and do all of that stuff. So we make sure it's super clear and concise to get the most traction on the site. So you'll get all those details by Friday of this week. We're asking that you submit by mid-March. That's so we can hand over all the media over to Pond5 so they have time to cut, trim, and create all the media for NBAF's platform. After that, they'll have about a month to do that. And then we'll come back around June to do an artist check-in. If you guys decide to join the platform, we have you hosted on our account. We'll do a check-in to see how your media is performing. We'll also start out our marketing ramp up and promote you guys on the channels to make sure you're getting all the support you need. NBAF will also be handling all the payouts. So I'll have that in the email as well. But we just hope you kind of take on this journey with us. I think it's a really great opportunity. They've been super gracious for their time, their efforts, and their support. So just want to open it up to any questions that anybody might have in this last 4 minutes. But be on the lookout for a personalized email follow-up from me with all of those timelines, because you probably weren't writing them down, but it's okay. I have it in a document for you. So you can just sit and marinate over the weekend, and we can touch base next week. Does anybody have any questions? Feel free to turn on your video. If not, drop it in the chat. Artemis? I thought he was gonna say something. Anyone?
I mean, I don't have a question. You want me to ask one?
Ask one, Artemis.
Okay, well, I mean, I do a lot of documentary-based work, so, you know, it would definitely qualify heavily under the editorial, I guess, citizen journalism type of space. I missed maybe the first 5 minutes, and maybe there's more of the partnership specifically that I need to understand. But like, I guess because I do a lot of people-based work, you know, where it's probably not going to be a lot of releases, I think I'm just interested in knowing like what types of things I should try to pinpoint, you know, based off of like what you, Tiffany, know about personally how I shoot and the types of things that I'm capturing. Because it's just a lot of stuff, you know.
I'm happy to respond, and Tiffany, you can offer your thoughts as well. I would say like maybe I oversold kind of like the use, like we love editorial footage, like editorial footage, we want it as much as possible.
Mm-hmm.
And editorial footage that is well shot and that covers subject matter that, you know, our buyers are looking for is like gold to us. So sounds great. Maybe Tiffany, we can work with Artemis and take a look at, you know, the different options of stuff that he could go through in his catalog, and we could pinpoint some and kind of start there and work our way down.
Yeah, I do think because a lot of, like with Artemis, Will's work, even some of Stephanie's work, I feel like Nakia also has a really more cinematic, different flair. Lourdes has really cool, she has like celebrity shots too, so I don't know how that's gonna work. So all of these artists are different, but I think fit with under your pipeline. So we'll probably have to do a case by case about how we filter what content in. So I think once we categorize everyone in what categories they think they fall under, then we can see how we actually curate that content on the platform.
And maybe just to add, like editorial content doesn't have to be like breaking news. Like if it's years old, like there's someone out there, you probably know this as a documentary filmmaker, like someone's doing a retrospective on something right now. Like I'll give one example. We have one contributor who has captured a lot of really gripping Hurricane Katrina footage. And every year on the anniversary of Hurricane Katrina, people are buying it up. So it doesn't have to be breaking news for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not concerned about that. Like, you know, I'm one of those people that understands every day is Black history. So, I mean, there's always something that somebody did, you know, that I feel qualifies. So I just want to have a good understanding of that because, you know, I'm already in the process of going through like a 10-year archive. That's what COVID was supposed to allow me to do. And I'm still figuring it out. So, you know, this seems like an opportunity to start narrowing that down. You know, I just want to, since y'all are talking about like features and all that different type of stuff, I want to just get an idea of like how I can not spend too much time trying to like put everything in.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, we're at 5 o'clock. Anybody else have last questions? Just thank you for your time. Thank you, Pond5 team, for joining us. Thank you, artists, for your time. Without you, we would not be here. And I will be sending up an email, and feel free to reach out to me throughout the day. But thank you guys so much. Thank you, Deanie.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
This was
Thank
awesome.
you. All right. Bye, guys.
Everybody.
Bye.